Right now. Here we go. And then I'd like to welcome Ada from Jumpstart Refugee Talent as well. So she'll be talking this evening as well. So again, thanks and welcome everybody for the kickoff meetup here today to basically get the Datathon underway. Some of you might have gotten started already as we sort of released data to an early batch of participants. So I'm excited to see if there's going to be any questions around the data for folks who have looked at it already. But for everyone else, this is formally sort of the kickoff to get things going with the Datathon and to tell you more about what we're hoping to accomplish and what data is available, what objectives we're looking to solve, and what the Datathon is actually going to look like the weekend of May 5th to 7th there. And so, Ada, do you want to come up and say a few words about Jumpstart as well?
Hi, good evening, everyone. As David said, my name is Ada. I'm from Jumpstart Refugee Talent. I work with the WTC mentorship program. So and in our department, what we do is we match mentees with mentors in the same field as them. And the mentor works with them to help them in their job search. I'm relatively new to Jumpstart. I started late last year. Feels like home. The organization has a strong focus towards helping others and helping newcomers find their footing, at least from an economic standpoint, as they work towards meaningful employment here in Canada. I'm excited to be here today. I didn't know I would be speaking, so I'm just winging it, my friends. So, thanks, so far so good. Yeah, and so yeah, I'm excited to get started. Should I just start moving through the slide?
Sure.
Okay, so I just want to start with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are here on the unceded territories of the, Rebecca, can you pronounce better than me?
I know the Vancouver ones very well.
For Calgary ones, that's great.
Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh. I think we can do the Blackfoot Confederacy and the Region 3 and Métis Nation and all the people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta.
Awesome, thanks. So we also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Are you going to do
Yeah, I'll jump back in on this one here. So just for the agenda for this evening, we're going to start off really quick talking about the two organizations for those who haven't done much with Data for Good or Jumpstart. From there, we'll go into more details about what Jumpstart does. So programming and clients, which will really provide important context for the data and the analysis that you're going to be doing over the Datathon weekend. We're also going to be explicitly talking about the Datathon objectives and then diving into the data a little bit, providing an overview how to access the data, and then also the data use agreement that we have in place here so that everybody is aware of that. And then lastly, we'll dive into Datathon logistics and also into some FAQ that I think we've seen. And at the end, we should have plenty of time as well to talk about answer any other questions you might have. And so we're happy to answer those as well. And one last piece, we'll also get Joan to come up and provide information about some office hours that are taking place tomorrow. So she'll be able to tell you more about that in a minute. And so just really quickly, who is Data for Good Calgary? So Data for Good Calgary was started in 2013. So we're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary, which is really exciting. And so we aim to bring together people that are passionate about data and charitable organizations and try to apply our data skills to make an impact with those charitable organizations. And so this is, of course, an excellent example of that. We're working with Jumpstart Refugee Talent and hopefully bringing all of your expertise together in order to help Jumpstart Refugee Talent make an impact. We typically organize 3 types of events. We organize monthly get-togethers in person, as you can tell here again. This is one example of those monthly get-togethers. We also run volunteer-led micro-projects, which will come into play today actually as well. And then we organize and host datathons, as you know all about, and that we're kicking off here today. We have over 2,800 members at this point, and yeah, are just a really good group of like-minded individuals, a really fun group to be involved with and to build your network around as well. Over to you, I think.
Okay, so just a little bit about Jumpstart. Jumpstart is a refugee-led nonprofit organization. It was founded in 2016, and we focus on the economic empowerment of newly settled refugees in Canada by facilitating meaningful employment and entrepreneurial opportunities. Oops. So we support refugees who arrive as refugees or apply for asylum, who are eligible to work in Canada. So, they have their work permit, that kind of thing, who are currently unemployed or underemployed, and those who are actively seeking employment opportunities. All our programs and services are available regardless of refugee status. So what we do. Welcome Talent Canada Mentorship Program, which is the program that I work in, is the only national mentorship program for refugees in Canada. We have offices in Toronto, Vancouver, and Calgary. We support refugees to improve their employment profile, navigate their career path, and to expand their professional networks. Clients are paired with a mentor in their field, and during the 4-month mentorship, the mentor supports the interviews, cover letters, networking, and those kind of things. Mentors sign up. Mentors can then sign up to mentors again. So basically how the program works is that clients sign up with Jumpstart, either for employment support or for a resume or different kind of services. And then because they don't always know about our mentorship program or even how mentorship works here in Canada. So, so then we receive their profile, we call them, we talk to them a little bit about what mentorship could offer them. For a lot of newcomers, professional networking is very big in Canada. And, they say something like 80% of job offers come through like your professional network in some capacity. So when they come to Canada, not only do they not have friends and family, but they don't have those professional contacts. So mentorship it's a way to have like a professional friend, if you will, right? Someone who, if you receive the job offer and you don't know how to negotiate salary, you can talk to them about that. If you're applying and no one is replying, if you're applying for all these jobs and no one is, like reaching out to you, it could be your profile or your resume or the way that you interview, just because there are cultural differences. So it's really a way to grasp a better understanding of the Canadian work culture. We also offer, like I said, resume support. We provide tailored resumes to support clients and support with revising those resumes across time. All clients who sign up for our mentorship or employment support are automatically sent to the resume team beforehand. The resume team reviews books, they set these appointments, they talk to them, they review the resumes, and then they prepare resumes to meet the Canadian standard. And then they can offer updates. The resume team, they have an interesting job. Sometimes they get resumes that are like 15 pages long. And here in Canada, kind of like 2 pages is the limit, right? And there's also different ways in terms of how resumes are structured. A lot of cultures, they don't like to brag, but we're here in Canada, it's important to highlight what your qualifications are, where you specialize. So a lot of times there's a lot of back and forth conversation that goes into that and developing a resume to meet the Canadian standard. And then, of course, once they come to the mentorship program, the mentor can help them custom tailor that resume even more strategically to their field, because a resume in banking and finance is different than one in IT and so on. So in those ways, we kind of work together. For the West Gateway education equivalents, we are partners. We are a partner of the World Education Services, facilitating education credential recognition for refugees. We fill out and submit the application to us, and the client receives their credential recognition. So you see, it all kind of goes hand in hand. A lot of people come, especially for the mentorship program, you have to have a professional background, professional education. And so when your education isn't necessarily recognized as soon as you arrive, that creates additional challenges and hurdles, and especially because you've already invested so much time and energy in your education. So by working with the West Gateway program, we just kind of tie all those pieces together. So when your credentials get recognized, and then that'll help you in your employment search. So Refugee Talent Hub, employment support. At the core of what we do, RTH is a connector between employers and refugee candidates, providing direct referrals, interview preparation, employer education, hiring events, and more. Our employment team works with employers to identify job descriptions and refer relevant refugee candidates for those positions. We then work with the employers and candidates to support with the interview and hiring processes as applicable. And then with regards to entrepreneurship, cohort programs, we have Reinvest. This is a cohort program completed in 2022. Refugee entrepreneurs applied, and those accepted were admitted to a training program. Those who completed the training program had the opportunity to present their business ideas to funders, and 3 entrepreneurs received seed funding, so between 5 and 20,000 as a result. Her Startup, my favorite program. This is a cohort program for women refugee entrepreneurs. Current cohort is September 22 to present. Those selected started a 6-month training program ending in presenting their ideas for funding. Those selected will shortly enter their incubation period, encumberation period with the direct mentorship and in-kind funding and support. So both of them, depending on, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit or if you're seeking employment, both of these programs are great in that they help make those connections between members of the workforce and employers. So it's a hard job, right? Because you have to build those connections with employers, and then you have to try to make the right matches, but the end result is worth it. We help refugees find meaningful employment on their career path. So, and then once they get on that career path, their skills shine and they're able to climb forward from there on their own. So who are our clients? So 45% of our clients are female. 72% of employed clients were able to secure their position in under 1 year. I consider that to be a substantial statistic, just because we meet the clients at the very beginning of their employment journey, sometimes just 2 or 3 months after arriving in Canada. And so the road seems really long at the start. And then by providing the different kind of services that we provide, it's almost like we kind of shorten that period. A lot of times we get mentors who say, I came to Canada 20 years ago. I wish I had a program like this. It took me 5 years to get where I was going. And so programs like Jumpstart, we really do help shorten that duration by focusing the attention and the efforts in the right places to help our clients get where they're going a lot sooner than they could have potentially gotten on their own. 74% of our clients have a bachelor's degree or higher qualification. Yes, a lot of the people that we work with in the WTC are very educated, sometimes multiple master's degrees. So that you feel their frustration when they feel that they have to accept a survival job just because they need Canadian work experience, right? Refugee status upon arrival to Canada, most commonly as claimants or government assisted. 77% of clients speak advanced English, CBL 6 to 8. For the WTC program in particular, that is a requirement for participation in our mentorship program. What we're hoping to do.
I will take over here.
Go for it.
Hi, everyone. I've heard that you can see me. I cannot see you, but I can see the slides. My name is
Rebecca. Just 1 second. Can everybody hear Rebecca, or should we try to turn the volume up a bit? Turn it up a bit. So it's just not that loud. So give me 1 second, Rebecca, to see if we can turn up the volume here. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Is it just coming from the laptop, or is it coming from any of the speakers?
Come from a speaker.
It is coming from a speaker?
Say something again.
Try again, Rebecca.
Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3.
No, it's just one.
Just the laptop?
Oh.
Can you try again?
Hello, hello, hello.
One more try.
Can you try once more, Rebecca?
Yes, I can. Hello, hello. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
We
I think
can
it's just
switch onto the podium computer. That'll get us. Huh. Can you point this microphone right by the speaker?
Yeah,
that'll
try. Okay, you're getting we're getting the duck
big
approach here.
Bring out the big guns. Is it any better?
That's better.
That is better. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I'm good to go ahead.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, great. My name is Rebecca. I manage program development for Jumpstart. And so I've had the great joy of being able to work with you all for the past few months. Data for Good has been great in helping us to gather our data, make sense of it, organize it. And it's now all coming to fruition. So what we're hoping to accomplish in short at the Datathon, and I will go through the objectives in detail right now, but our 3 main points are really to understand our clients, understand our work, and really to understand what makes our clients and employers more or less successful. Are there factors about our clients that are helping them to be more successful that we can encourage, or are there things that we're doing that we can do to be working towards bringing success to our clients from our end. So we're trying to understand, these kind of success factors, what we could be doing to help improve outcomes for our clients, or what our clients could be doing to improve outcomes for themselves. We also want to be able to share our story, what we do and why it's so important more effectively. Refugee economic inclusion is not generally at the top of the charts when it comes to media and the things that people are thinking and talking about. But it is a really important issue. It affects the Canadian economy. It affects thousands of lives. And so it is worth talking about and it is worth learning about. And we want to know more about how we can contribute to that story more effectively. So I will be sharing right now the more individualized outcomes, but I did want to point out at the very beginning, and David will jump on this a little bit later on, that there is the opportunity for micro projects. So if there's something that you see throughout the course of the Datathon that you'd like to explore in more detail, that is an option that's open to you. So what is done throughout other datathons, or so I've heard, is we're going to be splitting up into tables. Each table will have a generalized theme, so you can join up with other individuals who have similar interests. And so the first table that we're going to be looking at is exploratory data analysis. And so we're looking at things like how to distinguish the unique number of clients that we're serving on an annual basis, how many interventions a client receives on average. We're also looking for suggestions on gaps that you all are seeing in the data that we're collecting, or suggestions on collecting data in a new way, or collecting new data that we're not collecting right now. And that will help us to improve our programming and improve our own understanding of our work. If you all are seeing any visualizations, metrics, any trends that you're noticing, that's something that we're interested in seeing. If you have any ideas on clustering methods that could be applied to the data in a new way, or any ways in which you would like to take the data and turn it into visualizations and dashboards. Table 2, we're really looking at correlations in employment success. I'm not going to go through all of these, but essentially we're trying to see what makes our clients more or less likely to find meaningful employment. So does it have to do with the unique program participation? For example, looking at just 2 factors, mentorship and employment. We do know that those who do participate in the mentorship program are much more likely to find meaningful employment than those who don't participate in mentorship. But does that increase for multiple programs? How does that get affected by maybe the number of job referrals that somebody receives over a certain period of time? For those who indicate that they're interested in underemployment, so not a survival job, but maybe something that requires less years of experience than what they have, does that help them to find meaningful employment further along the line? Do maybe demographic factors that we collect have anything to say about this? The industries, the fields that they're interested in working in, or the field that they worked in the country where they came from. When we provide a custom resume or we support with interview prep, does that help with the success of a specific job referral, or anything else that you've noticed? So we're just looking at different correlations and causations that we might be able to see in the employment success for an individual client. The next table is looking at our other programming. So Ida talked a little bit about mentorship, and we'd like to see what other kinds of findings and success markers we can see when looking at the mentorship program, either the success of an individual mentorship or what kinds of other successes participants in the mentorship program are seeing. We also want to look at the WES education credentialing, and what that might say about your employment success, or how that might combine with other programs to see successes. And the last thing is looking at entrepreneurship for those who are interested in being entrepreneurs, who are interested in opening up their own businesses. Is that correlated at all to their employment success, or their ability to register their business, their ability to receive seed funding from one of our programs? Next is looking at a geospatial analysis. So the heart of this is really, where do our clients come from and where are they settling? Does that have an effect on the different outcomes that we're seeing, their employment status, their mentorship success, their match rate, how they're doing on if their referrals are going to an interview or going to a hire. And if we're looking at some larger open data sets, how representative is our data of a larger population of refugees in Canada? And if it's not representative, how is it not representative? Because that might highlight to us some gaps in our outreach and the communities that we're working with. The next table is a text analysis. So we have a field that's labeled career interests, and this is really just a free form text where clients and staff can make notes about what it is that the client is interested in doing. And sometimes you'll see a time spread of different notes that have been left as maybe those interests have changed or expanded. The person's gotten new certifications. Sometimes it's a paragraph form of all of the things that the person has had interest in doing, maybe interested in doing, the courses they might be pursuing, etc. So what we're looking is really at an analysis of this free form text, how it might relate with other factors or relate to employability. If you're noticing any gaps in this text box that we can use to make suggestions to our program staff and how they use this field. And any types of information that might be correlated to having better employment outcomes. And then the last thing is looking at the HTML version. The formatting comes out very HTML-y. And so looking at reformatting to be a little bit more readable as a plain text version. And then the last table is just looking at some of the open-ended questions that we're left with. So one of them is data validity. How are we looking at the way in which this is representative of a larger population, and any suggestions on thresholds to say that certain data points are or are not representative of a larger population of refugees in Canada, or even refugees in a given city. The next one is SROI. This is the social return on investment. So essentially, this is how we go to our funders and say, for every dollar that you invest in us, this is the dollar value of our return on what we're providing back. This would be non-technical. We'll be providing some documentation on how we've calculated this in the past. And we're looking for some suggestions on how this calculation can be made to be more precise and more representative. The next is AI. We are using ChatGPT and other AI programs currently to support mainly our resume work, but in some other contexts as well. And any suggestions on how different tools could be used to inform or improve our work are definitely welcomed. And then some of the last ones are, do we think that it's possible to predict employment success? How might that system perform? What might be enough data to make that perform predictably and reliably? And how could we use this system to improve employment success? Of course, you're not going to have enough time to really build out a system. We're looking more for suggestions on what this might look like were somebody to build it out. And this might also be an opportunity for a micro project for those who specialize in this area or would be interested in taking a crack at it. And then the last one is, if you were to create a recommendation system, and this is another example of, a more basic prototype for something that could be delved into more in the future. But if we were given a candidate profile, could we use this recommendation system to establish what might be the most suitable jobs or types of jobs for that individual based on jobs that we already have in the system? And from the employer point of view, if you're given a job description or a job profile, could we predict what referral opportunity or what candidate profile would be most likely to lead to an interview or hire? And so these are the kinds of questions that we're looking at. This is what we've identified in terms of what will help us to improve our programming and our service delivery in the future. But if anyone, of course, is looking at the data and sees a gap in these objectives that they'd like to explore, we do love that you would come talk to us and we can chat through it and explore other questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. And so that's the objective. So everyone sort of got that in a really quick overview. And of course, the detailed objectives are part of this presentation. And then also there's an objectives document that you may or may not have received access to already as well. From here, then let's talk about what data. Oh, I'm sorry, Rebecca. I think there's still more, right? Yeah, okay, sorry. I was jumping the gun. I thought Corinne was up, but Rebecca, I think this is still yours.
I think it's just a couple more slides. So when we're looking at where do we get our data from, really all of our data, everything that we do, everything that we know about our clients and our work, it's all in Salesforce. So when a client or a mentor starts their journey with us, it's through a Salesforce intake form. They fill out a whole host of information. For the client, this will be demographic information, contact information, uploading their resume, giving us an employment background and a description of what they're interested in doing in Canada. For the mentor, it's a little bit more brief, a little bit more about what they would be able to mentor on in terms of industry and field, and some demographic information as well. From there, we will receive a notification that somebody has filled out that form. That turns into a Salesforce contact object. And our intake team will talk to that individual just to verify and build out a little bit of that information. And as they go through the program lifecycle for various programs, the resume team, the mentorship team, the employment team, those program teams will also be talking to those individuals on the phone as they're highlighted and be building out that information on Salesforce as well. In the case of our mentorship program, we do have Salesforce built-in surveys that get sent out individually each month, and the information from the surveys gets built into the relationship object on Salesforce. For those who don't fill out those surveys, or for those who request a phone call, we need further intervention. We do that over the phone, and again, by updating those relevant objects on Salesforce. And then just really quickly looking at the different teams and the kinds of data that we use and collect. So from an intake resume perspective, we're looking majorly at their contact info, their industries and career interests, so that we can look at what kinds of fields they have experience in and what they're trying to get into. Their programs of interest, which will decide, of course, what lines and flows of work they're going to end up in. And from the intake perspective, we always want to check that they understand all of the programs and that there maybe wasn't a program that they're interested in but didn't check. And of course, the demographic info and their date of birth. The mentorship team, and as well as the employment team and most of our other program teams, they're going to be looking at a lot of the contact info, the industries and career interests. For the case of the mentorship team, they're also looking at that information from the mentor perspective, in addition to the refugee client. We're looking at the demographic information, particularly city, as you want to match somebody with a mentor or a job prospect in their relevant city. And then each program has generally a Salesforce object that is relevant. So the mentorship program has a relationship object where you're going to see things like the match date, the frequency of meetings, the status of the mentorship, and exit interview questions when we get feedback from both the mentor and the refugee mentee about how the program was for them. For the employment team, you're going to get a referral card and a position card. The employer is also tracked on Salesforce as well. We'll get things like, is the client willing to relocate? Are they open to underemployment roles? And on that referral card, we're going to get things like, were they referred? Were they interviewed? Were they hired? Along with information about the position. When we're looking at credential evaluation, they have some program-specific fields as well, such as the date submitted, how the application went, and how the actual credential evaluation went from the west side of things. And then on the entrepreneurship program, there is an entrepreneurship object as well, where we're going to get info about their business, what industry it's in, what the business idea is, if it's registered in Canada, how much revenue they've made to date, things like that. We're also going to get program participation, what stage of the Reinvest or Her Startup programs they're in, if they did apply for those programs.
Awesome. Rebecca, I think it's time to hand it over to Corinne.
I think it is time.
Right?
Yeah.
You got it right. Okay, sweet. So Corinne, I'll pass it on to you here.
Okay, so in this presentation, we have, how do I advance?
You can click on it
Okay.
or use the keys here as well.
Okay. So I have some slides in this slide deck that give all the details, but right now I'm going to just go to the data diagram itself so we can just zoom around there. So when you get access to the data, you will get access to the diagrams and the definitions. The very center of this data diagram that you can see here is the client. So I'll zoom in on the client. And if you just focus on one thing in this Datathon, you could just focus on client, because it has information about the client, about what they wanted to do, about what programs they participated in, and about their employment success. So all in one neat little package, you can do a lot of analysis. So that's the best place to start. And it's where you'll want to be tying in for almost everything you do. One exception I'll tell you at the end. So get to know your client. We have demographics like their age, the city, province, where they came from, which languages they speak, education level. This is what they're doing right now and what they would like to be doing. So the best industry, we got like where they're working right now, where they work in their origin country, but of most interest is their desired in Canada industry, because that's the job where we want to get them employed. This area is all the intake information, like when they joined or applied to Jumpstart, their status, and over here, the programs of interest. Now, Jumpstart has more than 5 programs, but we didn't want to overwhelm you guys. So these are the top 5 programs that we have provided. We've made a list, we've given them pretty names. And then to make your life easy, we've done some derivation, like a count of the number of programs they're in and whether they requested the resume program or the referral program or the mentorship program. You get the idea. So these will help you with your analysis. It gives you a bit of a step up. Up here as well, we give you a count of the languages they speak besides English. Although if English is their only language, we did not put 0. But otherwise, we focused on the languages they brought with them. And with the countries they come from, we derived, like they're from West Asia or Eastern Europe or Africa. So anytime you see these brown fields, it's derived information, take advantage. At the very bottom, you will see the counts of what programs they actually participated in. Often it's just like a 1 or a 0, like they got a resume or they didn't. But for the referral count and the mentorship count, this is actually the count of how many times they were considered for referral. And I'll get to that later. Finally, at the end, you have their employment status. So do they have a job? Good job, underemployed job? Are they working at Starbucks or are they not working at all? Sorry, nothing against Starbucks, but if you're a doctor, being a barista is not working up to your potential. Now at the bottom, you can see that I have all 5 programs here in these neat little boxes. If the box is orange, it's a one-to-one relationship, and we said, hey, let's just throw this into client to make people's life easy. So you'll find the resume data, the education equivalents, the credentials, and the mentorship. The first step of the mentorship is, did we find a mentor for you? That you will also find in the CSV for client data. After that, we've got a table for referrals, and it talks about, like, people in this table have been considered for a job, but then JRT doesn't just put their name forward, they actually talk with the person first and say, hey, would you like this job? And they say, are you qualified for this job? And if the answer is yes to both of those, then they get referred for the job. And once they're referred, there could be interview prep, they might get an interview with the company, they might get hired. Over here, we have some information about the entrepreneurship, about the Reinvest program, and about the HER program. Right now, the data is really sparse. It's like, did she or didn't she join the program? Is it trained or incubated? But it's a start. It's because the program's so fresh still. And at the very end, we got our mentorship. And this mentorship talks about how often people meet, and also things like how many job interviews did the mentor help with, or network introductions did they do, or support the career path. So these are important to see, like, what part of mentorship maybe made the most difference. On the other side of mentorship, you will see some information about the mentor. And on the other side of referral, you'll see the position they got referred for. And if you keep looking, you'll see the organization. But sorry, no names. We anonymized the data, so no names of the clients and no names of the companies. But we did say it's financial, it's hospitality. So it's to protect the innocent. Well, you know, privacy. So this is the data diagram. I hope you guys will just read through this. Oh, sorry. One more thing. At the very top, you got good eyes. Yeah, at the very top, we have the client career interest. You'll see this guy looks like an island. We want you to treat him like an island. So it has the career interests in both the HTML text format, if you know how to parse that, also in plain text, which doesn't look as pretty, but much easier to read. And then we include some information about their education and employment status and province. This is for people that love working with text and pulling stuff out of text. There's a lot to look at here, but we didn't want to join it in with all the other details because we felt like it was getting too identifiable at that point. So that's why we have pulled it apart, and you can just work with this all by itself. So we got the diagram. It's like looking at a map when you get to a new city. Take advantage of that. We do have a few other things for you as well. And you will see here, we have the objectives. We have the data diagram I just showed you. We have definitions for those tables and for all the columns. And not only definitions, but tips about what Jumpstart thinks is interesting, like looking at this industry, what would they like you to consider when you're doing the Datathon? So really, really, you're going to have richer analysis if you just scan the columns you're thinking of working with. Take a quick look at the definitions to see if you're surprised.
You actually have a definition in there. So
I've got every, yeah. I won't show you now. I will show you at the end if anybody wants to stick around. I would be happy to show you that documentation. Finally, and this has the pick lists and what they mean, and sort orders. So, you know, when you're sorting length of time it took to get employment, it will actually sort nicely in your visuals, which I don't know if you've ever seen them where they're like randomly sorted. Not pretty. And the Datathon tips is a one-pager, I guarantee it, with a few key tips that will help you come up to speed faster. And with that, Paula did these histograms. She's like awesome with working with data and the analysis and data quality stuff. So if you go through here, it'll give you an idea of the values and also the frequency of the values. So it's a way of getting to like speed dating with the data. And now Paula will talk to you about how you can get your hands on this data or where to find it and how to use it.
find it here.
I'm done,
So
right?
easy.
Yeah, like I wasn't, so people have previewed the data. I don't know how many of you are here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so basically you were given a, well, you weren't really given an ID, but you're going through with an ID and you got a password and that worked, right? For the 3 of you, I'm hoping that worked well. Yeah, excellent. And so the same thing will happen at the Datathon. You would get that access and you will get to this folder, basically. So it's that easy. And all these things come as a package. You're going to have to look at that map, that data model map, because basically each CSV is a box, except for where Corrine said, oh, we folded in the resume information, the one-to-one relationships are all in that client CSV. So you're going to want to take that data model map, look at it, and you'll understand, well, this is what's going to be in each CSV. Why CSVs? Well, they're pretty simple to bring anywhere. Another good reason for not having that the client career interest was all those other CSVs, very easy to go into a database, especially Oracle, right? You don't have to mess around to get any of that data into any of these tools that you'd like to use. I'll talk briefly about tools after. And that's why the career interest is kind of nice to have it on its own. You know, there's probably like a quote that isn't have an end quote, and that would just, I don't know, if you've been there with loading databases, it's not great. So all the other guys are great. And you'd look at that map to see everything. Any questions about this layout? Or getting there? No? If you don't have a computer, that might be a problem, because it's sort of like a bring your own computer. We don't use the U of C ones. I suppose if you're a student, you could. So, you know, this data is context rich. It's amazing. So don't get boggled down in solving world hunger with it. Because there's so many ways you can take it. It's not, I'm going to do this. It's not long. It's not like we have 2 million rows, right? So if your computer isn't too high powered, you might be okay, because really what we want is the connection and links between data of a very specific data set. So I kind of like that intro slide you had with well, these are the stats, you know, male, female is this, and education looks like this. Well, really for this Datathon, we're trying to make connections through that, right? That's going to be the key. So you can do that with any computer. I think you'd be okay as long as you focus. Okay, now I'm going to try and go back to there we go. And I'm going to do
Through my slides.
Oh, I'm whipping through your slides? Oh, Karine went through this.
The backup, so you can just go.
But you know what? We did do some anonymization. Yes, you won't know a client's name. They'll have this client ID. You won't know an organization name, the organization ID, things like that, obviously. What we also did was, if there were people who had knew a language, but they weren't, it's not like they had many people that knew the same language, we group things as other. So every once in a while, you'll see other. If you have a person who only one of them came from a certain country, group them into other. And that's where, you know, the continent and the region starts helping you as well, right? Like maybe you just start analysis at a higher level because we grouped it there too. The other thing is, if you look at the histograms on that PDF, which I'm not going to click on the next cloud because it doesn't really give you the picture of it, does it? No, anyways, there's things called no value. So there won't be nulls, but you're gonna, when you look through those histograms, you'll look for what's no value. You look for what's other. You look for something when it's a number, numeric thing. We often use 999. If it's a null year, we use 999, you know, 4 digits, things like that. Okay, so that kind of hopefully, sort of, you have a question in mind that you want to answer. You think, you know, you've targeted the data. You do a quick look of how that data looks there, and then you start bringing it together, hopefully. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Oh, and there's, oh, do you mind? I'm going to keep on going. I can go back.
Okay, now you're getting.
Okay, tools. So this is a slide basically for Datathon last year. I put a slide together. I never put it in the deck. Anyways, and on the right, you'll see all these lists of tools. This Datathon is basically bring your own tool, bring your own tools. Doesn't mean you have to use your own tool. If you just want to come to the Datathon, sign the non-disclosure, come and observe what's going on. Jump from table to table. You know, it can be a learning experience, and that's okay. And even people who want to come to observe, what they end up doing is sort of talking with the people at the table. And sometimes those people actually focus people, you know, this is what we're trying to resolve. And you can even pair up. It works. So don't don't feel badly if you don't think you're an expert. Everybody's welcome. And another key point here, and thank goodness I was talking to people before I came up here. The popular ones, Jupyter notebooks, Power BI, Python, Tableau. The only thing to remember is this is sensitive data. We don't want it out in the public right away. Okay, so if you are using Tableau, make sure you have a license for Tableau, because Tableau Public automatically puts it to the web. You can't do that. Jupyter notebooks, depending on how you're using it, make sure it is secured, basically. But you can see that there's lots of people use many different programs. Make sure it's local, not on the web. That's the main point. And don't worry about size. Excel would work great for these, even. Seriously, you'll be okay. Oh, data use agreement. Was that me? That's not on. I didn't. I mentioned a little
I
bit.
should have said yes, shouldn't I? All right, awesome. Thank you, Paula and Karine. So that's actually a good segue, I think, to the data use agreement here. So for those who have already filled out the Google form to register, we would have asked you to complete the data use agreement. And so that's really a key step in order to get access to the data. Otherwise, we can't provide access to the data for you. And just at a high level, to summarize some of the main points here. So the data is owned by Jumpstart Refugee Talent, and it'll be made available through an agreed upon platform, which is that Nextcloud platform that Paula and Karine were showing just a second ago. We do expect that you keep data confidential with appropriate safeguards. Analysts will not attempt to identify any individuals and will destroy personal copies of the data within 7 days of the Datathon. So, right, like Paula said, make sure you don't put it out on the web. It is de-identified, but we don't want it to be made public. And definitely don't try to re-identify it. So Paula and Karine have done their best effort to try to, again, aggregate data where it's potentially identifiable, remove personal information and things like that. But we don't know if that scrub is perfect. And so even if you find something, A, please let us know, and B, don't use that information to try and make an effort to re-identify anyone. And yes, we do give you access, up to 2 weeks before the Datathon for those who already got access to the data. But we do expect you to delete it from your machine 7 days after the Datathon there, unless you have written permission from someone at Jumpstart Refugee Talent to continue working with the data there. During the Datathon, we understand that folks want to put stuff up on social media if they're excited about their analysis and things like that. And so we do want to, again, be safe there in terms of re-identification of individuals and things like that. So if you want to post a graph, we ask that you don't label the axes and don't include a title. So you can still sort of showcase the cool graph that you made, but without some of the details there, just again to err on the safe side. And please don't post any unaggregated data. And then after the Datathon, let's say you're really happy about a dashboard you built or a Jupyter notebook that you made or something like that, and you want to showcase it on your GitHub repo, right, or something like that. If that's the case, please reach out to Rebecca and talk to her about it so she can review it, make sure that it doesn't have any potentially confidential or data that Jumpstart doesn't want to be in the public domain, and then hopefully we can find a way for you to still include that as part of your portfolio there. All right, but definitely, the data use agreement is in pretty simple terms. These are the highlights. Make sure you read it through in detail so you're aware of all the terms there as well. All right, so next, what actually happens at the Datathon? So just really quickly, I wanted to run through the 3 days and what it consists of on each day. And then from there, we can go into some of the FAQs as well. So on Friday is when we kick off the Datathon, when we all get together, and that's going to take place at the University of Calgary as well. Just a heads up. So actually, this might have changed. John, did you say we're in the same room for the entire 3 days? Downstairs? Yeah. Okay, so this information I have to update it actually. So initially we were going to be in a separate room on Friday, but now we're all going to be downstairs on the main floor here of this building for all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so we'll start off the Friday evening with the instructions for the Datathon. At a high level, review the objectives. And then also critically, start that team formation process. So if you've gravitated to one table or another, you can meet with the other folks that want to be part of that group and start meeting those individuals. Like one of the beauties about the Datathon really is that you get to network, you get to meet a bunch of folks that are working in the data space, want to get into the data space, or maybe are not in the data space, but still are really passionate about this subject matter. And so that's really one of the cool things. And so we do want you to get into those teams and get to meet those folks and start working with them. You have a question right away? Yeah, great question. So if you can't make it on Friday, that's okay. So, folks are pretty flexible. So if you can only make it on Saturday and you're looking for a team, you can still pick sort of where your preference lies, and typically we'll just introduce you to that team, and then you can sort of slot in there and start working with them at that point. Yeah. Go ahead. Awesome segue, getting into that in a second. So after the team formation, we do hope that there is some time to start getting into the data. Personally, when I do data analysis, I always find, you start off looking at the data, and then you sort of need to step away to take a bit of time and like reset, and then coming back the next day, you have some more ideas. So hopefully you'll be able to get into the data on Friday evening, start understanding it a little bit, and then sleeping on it, coming back on Saturday, you'll have a whole set of new ideas in terms of what you want to look at. So that's the idea for Friday. And then going into Saturday, we would start at 9 o'clock. We'll sort of open the doors at 9 o'clock, and at 9:15, we'll do like a recap and instructions for the day. And then from there, basically, get your hands dirty and start working with your team. And we will be providing lunch and dinner for those folks that are around for lunch and those folks that are around for dinner there as well. Now, I'm sure this is one of the FAQs, so I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but do you have to be there from 9 till 11 p.m.? And the answer is no. So we understand everybody has lots of things going on, of course, in their day-to-day lives. And so we totally understand if you can't make it for Friday evening, like we talked about, it's okay if you can make it on Saturday. If you can't make it for all of Saturday, that's fine as well. But definitely we encourage you to talk to your team, try to be here for some of the key moments, so that you don't miss out on the instructions, and we'll go over what those key moments are in a second. But yes, we understand that most folks, have other things and other responsibilities and obligations as well.
I don't think people usually stay to 11, but it's so that the space is open if you felt like doing it, but I've seriously never seen a huge group of people.
But if you're on a roll, we have seen teams that still want to stop at 6 o'clock. So the space is open, they can keep working until they decide they're ready to go home. And you can always walk out on your cheat and nobody's gonna hold you.
Yeah, that's right. So we think we talked about this today. I think last time we saw probably like 2 teams stick around pretty late until 11, but yeah, it's sort of up to everybody. Clearly Paula didn't stick around last time. But it wasn't 11? So, okay, Jeff kicked him out earlier. And then on Sunday is the last part of it there. So again, we open the doors at 9 o'clock. And then we will, that's typically when the group gets back together, starts to organize about, okay, what are our main findings? What do we want to present to everybody? At the end of the Datathon here, tie up your loose ends and prepare a presentation. Ideally, this can be Google presentation or a PowerPoint. It can also be a Jupyter notebook you want to walk someone through, or show off a Power BI dashboard you made or whatnot. So it doesn't have to be formal at all. And so that's in the last segment from roughly noon till 2 o'clock. We'll have the presentations, and then we'll wrap things up, and things will close at around 2 o'clock there. All right. Oh, and the other piece that's happening tomorrow actually is with Data Decoded, a mock Datathon. So Joan, I'll invite you up to tell us more about that.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joan Blanchard. I'm the manager of data science at AltaML, and I'm also a volunteer. I love Data for Good. This is such a great organization. I participated in a Datathon they had about, I think it's a year and a half ago. It's for the Calgary Homeless Foundation. That was a one-day virtual event. I was excited and nervous and had so much fun. And I remember when it was presentation time, our team decided, no, we have nothing to present. It's just high-level trends, pass. We're not going to present anything. We didn't do anything amazing. But then we were encouraged, just present anyway. And what a feeling of satisfaction when they got picked up by the lead analytics person in Calgary Homeless Foundation, thought it was so interesting and wanted to look at it further. So just be brave and go for it. Anyway, I'm here because I just want to give an offer. We have an office hours with the Data Dakota group, and we're just a grassroots group that likes to help people get started in their first Datathon, or kind of just explore ideas together in just a really safe way. Our motto is just a data space for everyone. So it's just a really welcoming place, especially if you haven't done one before, or you're not really sure how to get started. There's so many good ideas, but how do you actually break down a problem into steps to tackle it? Then we'll just talk our way through one or two of those objectives tomorrow. It's virtual, nothing's really structured, except we did this for the Datacon conference about a month ago, and it was just a nice break in the conference to look at some City of Calgary data and explore how you design a project. So I brought a copy of it, of what we did at the Datacon. So if anybody wants one, they can grab one. It's kind of the same material we'll cover tomorrow, but it just gets you thinking a little bit about responsible AI, about how do you narrow down to a topic, how would you go through and iterate through solving it without actually doing it, but we're just talking our way through it. So just wanted to give that offer, and I'll just have these pages here if anybody wants to grab one. I've got some pins. Otherwise, come join us tomorrow. It's a meetup event, and it's posted on the Slack channel. So you can just sign up there, and hopefully we'll see some of you tomorrow. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that, Joan. And we can also share out the link for that registration through the meetup for today's event as well. Okay, so then getting into some FAQs. So really quickly here, so who can participate in the Datathon? All of you and beyond. So anyone can participate. We welcome people of all skill levels in data and analytics, and also non-technical folks. So if you're a project manager, for example, or product manager, we find that folks like that can really contribute well to a team as well, in order to help keep people organized and provide another perspective in terms of some of the analysis that is being planned. What is the cost? Of course, there's no cost to participate in the Datathon, and but we do see it as a great opportunity to build your skill set, network with like-minded folks, and then also contribute to a great cause. On the flip side, are there prizes? So you might have likened this to a hackathon, where sometimes there is a competition. You're trying to see who can come up with the best idea and build the best software product over the course of a weekend or something like that. So the theme here is a bit different. So there are no prizes. And so there's no winner or best project or anything like that. Really, the ultimate goal is to provide insights and value to Jumpstart through your time, expertise, and skill set as well. I will add, yes, there is food and snacks though. And we kind of talked about this one already. So do you have to be there for the entire duration? The quick answer is no, you do not. There is some key moments that I would encourage you to try to be there for if you can. So, we had a bit of a kickoff today, but then really when you form teams, it would be Friday evening, working session on Saturday. So try to make it for some portion of that. Again, I would say, what we've typically seen is that most people show up at the beginning when we start things off on Saturday. So if you can join earlier on Saturday, again, get organized with your team, and then sort of, people will filter out and come back in throughout the day sort of thing. That's totally acceptable. And then, of course, presentations on Sunday. So if you can make that and provide some input, at least for your team, or help share a presentation, that'd be fantastic.
And it's a lot of fun to see what other people have done, how they approach problems, visualize them. So you learn as well as.
Absolutely. And what if I have an idea that is not part of the objectives? So Rebecca earlier walked through all of those different questions that we had, that we've come up with over the last couple of weeks. And we sort of put some, blue sky questions a little bit into the last group there. I'm sure you could tell. But we really have a great group that we're bringing together here, and everyone will bring a slightly different perspective, slightly different expertise to the table. So if you have other ideas that you think would be interesting to pursue, as that you can answer with this data, or other projects that you would like to pursue, definitely you're welcome to do that. And so you don't have to feel restricted by the objectives. They're meant to be aligned with what Jumpstart is interested in answering, but it's not the end all be all. So if you have an idea, grab Ida, grab Rebecca next weekend, ask us a question in Slack and talk it through with the Jumpstart team. That's oftentimes a really good way to start.
And for the other aspect of that in terms of, just kind of blue sky, come up with some of your own stuff is additional data sources, right? So some of the best insights that we've seen is in the combination of data sets that haven't been combined before. So think of like StatsCan, right? There's tons of information on refugees and that sort of thing. All kinds of additional open data, City of Calgary, Government of Alberta, Government of Canada, open data portals with thousands of files, some of which relevant to refugees, government organizations as well on employment, statistics on employment, right? So all kinds of correlations and things, right? So you won't get bored. Absolutely start with the objectives, but once you get going, think about extending those to new questions, but also bringing in some additional data sets.
Absolutely. And the last FAQ I think that we have is, what if I have an idea for a project that I want to use the data for after the Datathon? So if that is the case, we do have a structure called micro projects that we are planning to start right after the Datathon. So oftentimes coming out of the Datathon, it's like, oh man, I just feel like I scratched the surface and I really want to dig in and build out this other product, or this, I want to continue maybe working on some model that you started building or a dashboard or something like that. So if that's the case, you can pitch a micro project, which is a volunteer-led project, and you would be able to keep retain access to the data and work on that with a group of volunteers over approximately the next month or so. And so we will have an opening, we'll be collecting ideas for that pretty quickly after the Datathon, so by May 9th, and then reviewing those ideas with Jumpstart, and then based on conversations and what we think is good to move forward, you would be able to continue working on those projects afterwards as well. All right, so then in terms of next steps, so what is up next? So Datathon registration, of course, is open. So there's a meetup page that you can RSVP to say that you're coming. But then really importantly, there's also that Google form. Maybe by a show of hands, who has completed the Google form in this room? Okay, quite a number, so that's awesome. So for those folks who haven't completed it yet, make sure that you do complete it, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to provide you access to the data, because it does includes that data use agreement as well. Feel free to bring a friend, so share this information with them, invite them to the Datathon as well, get them to register and help share the word. We do have a Slack environment, so if you're not on there yet, feel free to register through Slack. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Ida, Rebecca are on that Slack channel as well, so you can ask questions of Jumpstart there too. And yeah, just once again, you must register through the Google form. So if you haven't done that yet, do make sure that you do that as soon as possible, I would say, because again, you can get access to the data earlier. In terms of dates, so on April 23rd, we did share the data with sort of the early access group of those folks who completed the Google form at that point. Tomorrow, we will review the next group of people who have completed the Google form and submitted the data use agreement, and we'll reshare out the credentials with sort of that next group of people that haven't received access to the data yet, but have completed all the requirements. So that means that, starting tomorrow, you could get access to the data and get a bit of a head start before next weekend. And then also tomorrow is the Data Decoded Mock Datathon. So sign up for that if you can at lunchtime. It's taking place. And then, of course, on May 5th to 7th is the actual Datathon. We'll close off the intake for micro projects by May 9th. And then by May 14th, that's sort of the 7 days after the Datathon. Just as a reminder, that's when we would ask you to have the data removed from your local system. All right, and with that, back over to you, I think, for this last slide here.
Me again. Okay, so get involved. Are you interested in staying involved with our organization? Talk to Shaw about hiring through Jumpstart. He's not here, but you can still talk to me. Or you can talk to me if you're interested in becoming a Jumpstart mentor. Chat with any of us about any other ideas. We'd love to hear them. So yeah, I'll be happy to talk to anyone who's interested in learning more about our mentorship program and what the commitment would be like across the 4 months. So I'll definitely hang out after and Yeah, just that's it, I guess. Just this one slide, right?
There's one more slide, actually. I think I lied. So yeah, at the very end, so
This one, you guys.
so just really want to say thank you all for coming out today, and then also for volunteering for the Datathon, right? Without all of you volunteers to come out and contribute to this cause, it wouldn't be possible. So we really appreciate everyone taking the time to come out and contributing your insights and skill sets. It's really fantastic always to see such a diverse and energetic group of folks come together. So we're really excited to see what we can do next weekend and what you come up with. So really looking forward to it.
Awesome. And we're really looking forward to the results. For someone who works for Jumpstart, who every day is in Salesforce and is collecting data through follow-ups and exit interviews, I see that how this can really just like change the way that we do our work, allowing us to make more meaningful impacts and greater impacts for our clients. So on behalf of Jumpstart, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, I would encourage you to tweet out, throughout the Datathon, even starting right now, right? So the hashtag for the Datathon, so hashtag Datathon YYC. So Michigan, that's there. Our organization on Twitter at Data for Good YYC, and then at Jumpstart CDN. Right? So those are the tags to use starting now and then throughout the whole Datathon.
Hey, so I just noticed I'm running out of batteries. I thought I was plugged in here. Okay, awesome. We do have some time still for questions. So maybe just opening it up to see if there is any questions. And otherwise, I know the many folks are sticking around. So if you want to talk to us, that works too. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious about next Friday. The start, what exactly is the team formation? Do we just randomly draw the names of the
No, so the question is around team formation and how that will work next Friday. I'm just repeating it because we're recording it as well. It's more sort of like birds of a feather. So it's like what are you most interested in? Which table are you most interested in? And we'll get folks to sort of distribute it into different areas of the room and start meeting other folks that are interested in that same area. So typically it's sort of which part are you most interested in? And then you can sort of focus on that and then get together with other folks that are interested in that as well. Now, I will say if we get 90% of folks that want to work on table 6, then we might sort of come in and say, oh, is there anyone who would be interested in table 5, and try to distribute it somewhat evenly so we have some coverage on each of the topics. But typically it's sort of like, what are you most interested and passionate about? And we'd encourage you to go for that.
Yeah, and there's also a bit of a skill set overlay to a couple of the teams. So the geospatial analysis, so obviously you need to have that skill set. And then the text analytics, right? So natural language processing, text analytics, that sort of stuff. And then the last stuff is pretty wide open, but if you are into AL or MI, all of that sort of stuff. So there's that a bit of an overlay as well. The first table is meant to be sort of generalized with this broad sort of analytics and general visualization type of questions. It's free format, you just choose yourself, right? And that's really the beauty of it, right? Like it's, we've done this, things like our 8th Datathon or something like that. You say, well, how the heck does this work? But it's magic, it really works. And by Sunday morning, your team is well gelled. It's a really great experience to meet other people who may not know.
Go ahead.
Is there any way to compare out with someone native language is similar to it? For example, Spanish and is there a way to deal so that would be
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So it's around being paired up with someone who speaks the same language as you. So I can't say that we've had too many instances of that, but again, I would sort of suggest trying to self-organize as much as possible first. If you're finding that you can link up with someone who speaks the same language just through self-organization, it's fantastic. Otherwise, come to us and we can potentially, make a call out on Slack or something like that to try to identify other matches that might work well there. Jeff, any thoughts on that one? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
sorry, just I want to make sure I heard right. Is it too early to start working on the data?
Building a team now, I think, is, table and start thinking about tools or a question and.
Yeah, like the last time I went to markets, we spent the entire time figuring out how to standardize that. Didn't actually do anything about the end of it.
Yeah, so actually I'm totally open to that. So if you want to like chat with the folks here and see if anyone is interested in working on a similar objective as you, you're totally welcome to do that and in order to get a head start. I will also say that I think not everybody who's working on the same table or team needs to be working in the same tool set. So if, for example, you and someone else want to work in tool set A and then some other folks want to work in a different tool set, that's totally fine as well with us.
I think it's more important to be focused on answering the same sort of questions is the key.
Although even at the table, if some might answer this one, some might answer that one, you wrote like my subgroup and then later change subgroups. But I think you could start a conversation on Slack as well, because it's on a Slack channel. We started a discussion about tools and what tools are people interested in and what tips, maybe an open data set you can check out. Use that Slack channel. It's got threads, you can ask the question, all the answers go in the thread. It's pretty nice to use.
Does that help, or is there? Yeah, okay, all good, awesome. All right, any other questions? Go ahead.
They all came from the same source, which is their transactional database, and it is very clean because Kareem's a data architect and Rebecca has been with us. And
Thank you, Rebecca.
we've got the right team, roles, and surrounding normalization and done. So they're all very good.
Well, they should be very good. They're not going to be perfect, so feel free to take holes in everything we did, because we started late December, early January, but we all have lots, so it won't be perfect, it should be good. And client is the best place to start, and does that answer all your questions?
Yeah, I think they did like maybe
no, resume will just be in the client table. All the data is on one home. If you find data in two places, contact me via Slack, please.
Sorry, Rebecca, I think you can't hear, but you just got a shout out. So so shout out to you. I just want to repeat that there, Rebecca.
Okay, I can only hear you and some I heard my name, that's all I got.
There's only no worries. Awesome. All right, any final questions? Not for now. Okay, well, we'll stick around. So if you have any other things that you want to chat through with us, by all means, we welcome it, or feel free to reach out to us on Slack as well. And thanks again, everyone, for coming out, and looking forward to seeing you all next weekend. And thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you. It was lovely to see you all, or I guess lovely to see you, David.
We'll see you in person next week.
I'm really excited to be there in person next weekend. Have a great night, everyone.
You too. Thanks.